Throughout the project, I used a variety of technology to construct, research, plan, and evaluate my work. This was needed to be able to produce the product as proficiently as possible. Photoshop was an important tool in the creation of my newspaper advertisements, with them needing to be edited on the program as well as some being completely created within the program, such as my double glazing advert and my petrol competition. In the construction process of the advert, it was key that I use the layers feature effectively, with it important that I have the components of the advert in front of each other. In the case of the double glazing advert, it meant that the window was placed in front of the van on the image. The use of the layers also meant that it was easy to manipulate in the form of deleting mistakes and moving components. The pen tool within Photoshop was the most important tool when creating a product from scratch, as this was the tool that created the shapes in which I could work around, such as in my petrol competition advert. The pen tool allows the user to form a shape as they so wish, with the ability to add both straight lines and curves to the shape. The anchor tool also aided in this aspect, with its ability of being applied to part of the line formed by the pen tool to adjust the curvature of the shape that you are creating. The newspaper and the poster that I created was created using the same program called Adobe InDesign. This also utilizes the layer system, which is particularly important in this instance as it was important to gather all the components that are already created and then put them together to form the total product. Unlike Photoshop, it isn't used to add or alter an effect to the product, which is why I did not use Photoshop in this instance, as well as InDesign also featuring several more authoring tools that would become more useful in the creation of my newspaper and my poster. Stellar Surveys was the website I used to conduct my audience research and audience feedback. I created the questionnaires on the website, which I have an account for, and then I sent out a link to my audience for them to respond to. I then could log into the account and check on the feedback that I have gathered from the process. The program allows the author to create different kinds of questions with the ability of narrowing or expanding the possible options for response. This helped in that it meant I could get responses that I could put a number on, or responses that required a bit more detail. This helped in my decision for a title and colour scheme by clearly differentiating the most popular answer. Blogger is a piece of technology that I use to record everything I have done in my A2 coursework. A lot of what I've done is featured within my blog, such as the research, planning, and the creation, all being on my blog. One of the reasons for doing this is to record what I've done so that people can recognise the work that I've put into each stage of the process. It was also useful in that it could be used as a tool to look back on, to affect my decisions that I would make, such as the conventions that I researched during the research stage, which would have impacted my decision on some of the features of my newspaper and other ancillary products. Audacity is the program I use to create and record the radio advert that I produce. This is a piece of free software tailored to the production of sound clips, which you can later edit with all the separate clips morphed into one finished clip. I particularly use this feature to record the separate aspects of the advert, such as the stirring of the drink, the spreading of the toast, and the people saying the lines, which makes it easier to produce. Another feature I use from the program is the alterations that you can make to the sound clips, in which I shortened as well as increasing the loudness of some of the clips to make it clearer and easier to understand, as well as emphasizing some parts of the radio advert.